February 13th, 2025, in a chilling escalation of violence,
They weren't just trying to get rid of them.
blood-soaked battleground for Islamist militants.
They were trying to mock God.
Their severed heads are a stark testament to the barbarity.
And a lot of people think martyrdom is a thing of the past, but it is very much still present in today's world. 70 Christians were beheaded in Africa, and no one seems to be talking about it. Hey, I'm Father David Michael Moses. I'm a Catholic priest, and if you're interested in videos like this that maybe the media isn't talking about, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. So really sad story. There was just a horrific attack on Christians in Africa. And it wasn't like this was some battle going on and some Christians got caught in the middle and were accidentally killed. No, it seems like this was a very deliberate attack on innocent Christians for their faith, because of their faith. You know, a lot of people think martyrdom is a thing of the past, but it is very much still present in today's world in some really significant ways. So let's have a look at the video.
In a chilling escalation of violence, the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, has once again become a blood-soaked battleground for Islamist militants. On February 13th, 2025, a horrifying attack unfolded in the northeastern territory of Lubero, where 70 Christians were beheaded inside a Protestant church in Kasanga. The perpetrators? Suspected members of the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, a ruthless group with ties to the so-called Islamic State, ISIS. This latest atrocity has sent shockwaves through the Christian community and underscored the growing Islamist stranglehold on parts of the DRC. The nightmare began at 4 a.m. in the village of Meba. According to field sources, ADF militants crept into homes under the cover of darkness, whispering a deceptive command: get out, and don't make any noise. 20 Christian men and women obeyed, only to be seized by the armed intruders. As the local community rallied to devise a rescue plan, the militants tightened their grip, surrounding Meba and abducting another 50 believers. The captives, 70 in total, were marched to the church in Kasanga, where they met a gruesome end. Their severed heads are a stark testament to the barbarity now plaguing the region. Even after the killings, the terror persisted. Until February 18, families couldn't bury their loved ones due to ongoing threats. Many Christians have since fled, joining the swelling ranks of the displaced. This gruesome massacre, reported by field sources and local leaders, marks the latest chapter in a relentless campaign by the ADF to assert dominance in the DRC's volatile northeast.
Gosh, so they just basically went into their homes at 4 in the morning with the intent of getting them out and taking them to be executed, essentially. And what's really disturbing is they took them to the church, it sounds like, to actually execute them there. I think it makes it very clear just how evil this was, that they wanted to take them to the house of God to kill them in some way in front of God. Really just, obviously very sacrilegious. They weren't just trying to get rid of them, like they were trying to mock God and to mock their faith. Honestly, really incredible strength by these people. I would assume that they knew there was some kind of threat of this, and yet they didn't renounce their faith. They didn't leave the area. They very much accepted the witness that was being offered them. Really, the incredible witness of martyrdom is that they really believed this stuff, that they were willing to die for it. Tertullian says, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. In other words, the blood of the martyrs, even though you maybe can't see fruit from it immediately, it's the seed of the church. It is buried in the ground, but with time, it will bear even greater fruit. A seed is so small, but the plant that it produces is so big, and that's definitely been the history of the Catholic Church. Wherever there are martyrs, there's a great flourishing of Christianity. And actually, to that point, one of my good friends is from Guadalajara, in Mexico, and his diocese actually has more vocations to the priesthood than I think any other diocese in the entire world. And he says that it's because in the history of Mexico, there were so many local martyrs that so many young men actually knew the families and the people and the places where these men had died and given their lives. And it really did plant a seed there in that area that really led men to give their life to the church. So 2 quick things here. One, kind of insane that the mainstream media isn't covering this at all. I freely confess, I don't know why that is. I don't know behind the scenes why they aren't covering this, but it is pretty insane that they aren't talking about it, because this is clearly really big news. And not to play the victim here, but there's something to be said for the fact that if this was any other group, not Christianity, you wonder if it would be covered a little bit more. The other thing I want to say is that hearing about these stories needs to affect what we do in our daily lives. The example I would give is my dad, before I was born, actually went to jail a bunch of times for pro-life work. If you want to hear that story, let me know. I might make a video about that. But he went to jail along with hundreds of other men and women. And what he said is during that time, not everybody was willing to go to jail, but because there were some people who were willing to go to jail, it raised the standard that everybody else held themselves to. So maybe they weren't willing to go to jail, but they were willing to give a lot of money to support the cause. Maybe they weren't willing to go to jail, but they were willing to volunteer their services as a lawyer or something like that to help. He even likes to tell the story of one guy who, as they were all involved in the pro-life work, one guy came and brought hot chocolate for everybody. That was what he felt like he could do. That when the standard was that some people were going to jail for months, then I could at least do something, right? And I think it's really good for us to recognize that there are Christians out there who are being beheaded for the faith. That's the standard. So that should hopefully raise the bar for what I expect for myself. If they're willing to be beheaded in the middle of the night for the faith, am I willing to wake up and pray for the faith? Am I willing to go to Mass on Sunday for the faith? Am I willing to go to confession? Am I willing to do something a little bit more? Am I willing to talk to my friends about Jesus? Like when death is the standard, then I need to be willing to give myself a little bit more than I probably am. Hope you guys found that helpful. Let me know in the comments what you think about this story. Obviously, praying for the repose of the soul of those who died, praying for repentance for the persecutors, and really just crazy stuff in the world right now. God bless you guys.